In Chapter 142 of Stardust Crusaders, Dio and Joseph Joestar come face to face as stand users, both resolute to take the other down. When Dio suddenly appears behind Joseph and attempts to strike the old man down, he stops just shy of dealing the first and final blow due to the realization that Joseph has completely wrapped himself in Hamon using his stand as a means of protection, Hamon being extremely venomous to him. Dio acknowledges that 100 years prior, Hamon was a thorn in his side, but now, such an ability is rendered useless due to his newly acquired stand. Then, he proves that claim in the very next panel. But just as Dio said, just 100 years ago, Hamon was the pinnacle of combat ability for those unaware of the power that stands held, as, in those years, Dio was defeated by the Ripple on more occasions than one. Hey, what's going on guys, it's Momo Jojo, the Jojo watching janitor, and today, we've got a special one as we're going to be going over and explaining everything Hamon in the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series. If you aren't already aware, we just recently hit 100 subs and we're on our road to 500 now, so if you enjoy the video, consider leaving a like, sharing with your friends, and subscribing for more JoJo and Boruto content, because we're not stopping anytime soon. But I know what you all came for, so I won't hold you any longer. Let's get back into the video. Okay, so there's so much to unpack here because Hamon, while explained fairly well and in depth, still acts as sort of a magic bullet in the sense that it can do anything our characters need it to, so long as they're creative enough. While every ability is of course fantastical, it's almost always based in reality to give explanation for how our characters are able to perform the feats that they do, even if some of them seem convenient. So I guess there's no better place to start than the name. Hamon, also referred to in the English version of the manga as Ripple, gets its name because of what it does to your body and everything else it comes in contact with. It is explained in Chapter 19 of Phantom Blood that a person's breath and blood are connected due to oxygen existing in the bloodstream, which in turn means that it is connected to their cells. When a person acquires a special way of breathing through an unconventional respiratory system, the breaths they take in send ripples throughout the body, creating a special energy capable of great things. Hence the name. The art of performing the feats is considered sendo, much like martial arts, but instead granting mystical benefits to a person's body. While it's referred to as the Ripple most times in English manga, from this point forward, I'll be referring to this energy as Hamon to avoid any confusion. In the previous chapter, we are given an introduction to a man by the name of Baron Zeppeli, who is the master of the aforementioned Hamon, and he even gives our heroes a small demonstration of what this energy is capable of. He exhibits extreme speed feats, an impressive vertical, and healing Jonathan's broken arm in an instant, and he does all of this as if it's nothing, leading the reader to believe that there is more in store for our protagonists. And it proves to be the case when Zeppeli seemingly attacks a frog on a rock, but to everyone's surprise, the rock is split completely in half while the frog on it remains unharmed. There are so many more crazy feats of Hamon just in Phantom Blood alone, but I'll save that for the utility section of the video. But for now, I want to focus on its importance to the overall story. And we do see the relevance when Zeppeli explains to Jonathan that Hamon is the one and only key to defeating his rival Dio, a newly born vampire. So, why Hamon? Well, we are never told exactly how or why Hamon was founded, but we do know that at least 2,000 years prior to the events of Battle Tendency, an entire clan existed who used such an ability to fight against a clan of Pillarmen, an unnamed clan named after the Pillarmen that we do see in Part 2 of JoJo's. Since the sunlight was the only effective method to unaliving the Pillarmen clan, Hamon was used in its place given that it operates under the same principles as the sun, creating and transferring waves that are harmful to the Pillarmen. This works by creating Hamon energy through your body and channeling it into an attack to destroy the brain. And the same applies to Dio and his servants as well, being that the stone mask essentially turns humans into creatures with similar capabilities as severe allergy to sunlight. My theory on the matter of the clan is that every member was born with the ability to use Hamon, just like Joseph, since a person only needs an adjusted diaphragm in order to adopt this breathing pattern, allowing the energy to flow throughout the body. Even so, we are told by Zeppeli in his conversation with Speedwagon that only 1 in 10,000 people have what he calls the right attitude, as well as the willpower to wield Hamon the way that we see Joseph and Caesar do. But despite that, a person who can create the energy through their breathing technique will still be able to perform minor feats of Hamon, as evident when Speedwagon heals Zeppeli's arm in the fight against Targus and Bruford. We never see Speedwagon use Hamon again, but we at the very least know that he is capable of doing so on a small scale. In addition to requiring a specific mindset to take full advantage of the ability, we are also told that Hamon is very sensitive to mental distress, effectively serving as a nerf for the user. But in that very conversation, Zeppeli tells Speedwagon that he originally witnessed the use of Hamon by a monk in Tibet, citing that at first sight, the power was the exact opposite of the stone mask, as it gives energy rather than taking it, like those empowered by the mask are hardwired to do. But having expressed interest in learning more from the monk, he was directed to a temple in the desert where we see that there is an entire school of monks, training their mind, body, and spirit in the use of Hamon. This is expanded on in Battle Tendency, where we learn that when the Pillarmen wiped out all of the Hamon users 2,000 years ago, there were many schools erected with the sole purpose of reviving the lost art. Venice and Tibet house 2 such schools. At the Venice Temple, we see a number of methods used to convert novices into Hamon masters in as little as 30 days under the tutelage of the Hamon master Lisa. She is able to get such results from her 2 students by bringing them face to face with death, as she puts it, as training with your life on the line makes for exponential growth in a much shorter time frame, and this is displayed when, after only 3 days, Joseph can subconsciously control his Hamon to the degree that even Caesar considers it impressive. And we do see this throughout the entirety of the Jojo franchise, as when Dio attempted to train his stand, he used a shotgun to test how fast his stand was. But back to Battle Tendency, the most emphasized training was the slippery pillar climb, which involves a slippery pillar with rapids of oil that a trainee must climb using only their Hamon. The oil is said to be conductive by Joseph later, so the trick is to output your Hamon to allow yourself to stick to the pillar and slowly climb your way up. This took Joseph 3 grueling days and some clever trickery on his part, and he still technically failed since Caesar had to save him from falling back down at the very end. The training was meant to teach Joseph how to properly concentrate his Hamon to a much smaller point, rather than using his entire palm in order to strengthen the effectiveness, and it took him nearly dying to the high pressure oil as well as starvation to do so. And I will remind you that this tower was 24 meters tall, or 78 feet for reference, which a fall like that would immediately put anybody out of commission. And never mind the fact that it took both Caesar and Jojo 61 non-stop hours to make it to the top. So the 1 in 10,000 starts to make a little bit more sense. Imagine Speedwagon trying this, he would have been assed out in 15 minutes. Now, I want to take a moment to go over some of the benefits that a person gifted with the use of Hamon would typically receive. We've already covered the fact that they can climb a vertical incline using nothing but Hamon, but what else can they do? Well, for one, a Hamon user's physical capabilities are massively increased, as we see speed, strength, and endurance are drastically improved in comparison to your average person. A user also gains the ability to imbue life energy into others, as we see whenever someone is healed or when Jonathan accidentally revives part of a dead tree. A person's pain tolerance is improved, they can create fire, they can swim faster, magnetize living objects, detect and sense other Hamon users and enemies weak to Hamon, walk on water by repelling the energy in your body in the water, imbue other objects with Hamon like a sword or a chandelier, forcibly push poison out of a person's bloodstream, actual body flicker, infuse special bubbles to create Hamon filled with projectiles, change the form of objects like water to a gelatin consistency for instance, safely walk on a bed of spikes, read the future, hijack and feeding a prime directive into someone's mind through brainwaves, and just straight up cutting people in half and punching through them like nothing. And I haven't even mentioned that when Zeppeli transfers all of his life energy into Jonathan with a move called Supreme Deep Pass Overdrive, Jonathan's abilities become amped up even more, as he is able to easily rip a steel collar off of his neck, completely shattering it. So Hamon is busted. But then again, not really. Let's go over its drawbacks and weaknesses. It's been explained that a person can only channel to and release Hamon through their extremities like hands and feet. This means that while constricted, releasing any energy is impossible. And speaking of being constricted, when a person's breathing is impeded, every ability I listed earlier, including passively healing yourself, also becomes impossible, because Hamon is created and circulated through oxygen in your blood. Speaking of blood, when the body dips below a certain temperature, the blood vessels constrict, and when completely frozen, circulation is outright cut off, stopping Hamon completely. The only other major weakness is that even though an individual can infuse a weapon with Hamon, once it leaves their grasp, it becomes a regular object, which is why Caesar's bubbles are so impressive. Also, Caesar has his crazy feat where he jumps while sitting, and that's honestly just impressive. I know Speedwagon hypes everybody up, even the enemy, but this one was justified. But as we see in Stardust Crusaders, the battle system was drastically revamped, and whether it's better or not isn't important. The fact of the matter is that the power levels increased tenfold, leaving Hamon in the dust. We see a few instances of Hamon being, well, for a lack of a better term, useless against stand users. We were told by Zeppeli that his method of Hamon was not devised for destruction, so breaking through a steel door was impossible for him. In addition, he adds that his Hamon is best used on living targets, typically those who are weak to Hamon. Jotaro, on the other hand, was able to stand back while his stand power, Star Platinum, bended the prison bars with ease. In addition, speed feats were drastically increased, with characters being compared to actual light speed. And if it already hadn't been made clear that it was useless in most situations, Joseph uses it twice throughout the entirety of Part 3. Once against the Empress when he attempts a Hermit Overdrive and she laughs at him because she's attached to his body. Somehow Joseph and us are learning that he can't hurt himself with a Hamon attack. And the other time being during Dio's World Part 9, when Dio himself laughs at Joseph's use of Hamon, tells him that he has the weakest stand he's ever seen before. Yes, even weaker than that one. And then he decides to go with a long-range approach just to be disrespectful, throwing knives at the Joestar. But yeah, that's Hamon. While I really enjoyed the original battle system, the creativity, and the seemingly endless well of abilities that Hamon proved to be, I much prefer the change that was taken with Stardust Crusaders and built upon in subsequent parts. One thing that I wanted to mention is that I think the Joestar bloodline is more than likely so strong because of how much Dio pushed Jonathan to get stronger in willpower and with the Hamon over the course of Part 1. But that's it. Did you enjoy the video? God, I hope so. Because we're on the road to 500, baby. So if you did enjoy, go ahead and give the like button a click, share it with your friends and enemies, and subscribe for more JoJo's Bizarre Adventure content like this from your favorite YouTuber, Momoshiki the Janitor. If you disagree with everything I said and you hate my guts, why not tell me all about it in the comments? Thanks guys, you have a wonderful day. I'm out, holla!